example, you're the only person on the stage that's ever been fined for hiring people to work on your projects illegally. You hired some workers from Poland.
I'm the only one on the stage that's hired people. You haven't hired anybody.
Well, in fact, some of the people he hired. Well, but hold on.
I've hired. And by the way, I've hired tens of thousands of people over my job. You've hired 1,000 people. You've had nothing but problems
from another
with your credit cards, etc.
Let me say.
Don't tell me about that.
Let me finish the statement. This is important.
You haven't hired one person in your life.
He hired workers from Poland, and he had to pay $1 million or so in a judgment for hiring.
That's wrong.
That's a fact.
Totally wrong.
Well, people can look it up. I'm sure people are Googling it right now. Look it up. Trump Polish workers. You'll see $1 million for hiring illegal workers on one of his projects. Yeah, he did.
Well. You know, it's interesting.
That happened.
I've hired tens of thousands of people over my lifetime. Tens of thousands.
Many from other countries instead of hiring Americans.
Be quiet. Let me talk. I've hired tens of thousands of people. He brings up something from 30 years ago. It worked out very well. Everybody was happy.
Paid $1 million.
And by the way, the laws were totally different. Right. That was a whole different world.
Thank you.
But I've hired people. Nobody up here has hired
Senator Cruz.
If he builds the wall the way he built Trump Towers, he'll be using illegal immigrant labor to do it. The second.
So cute. Such a cute soundbite.
But no, it's not a soundbite. It's a fact. Again, go online and Google it. Donald Trump, Polish workers. You'll see it. The second thing about the trade war, I don't understand, because your ties and the clothes you make is made in Mexico and in China. So you're going to be starting a trade war against your own ties and your own suits. That's right. All right.
You know what? Because
why don't you make them in America?
Their currencies. No. They devalue their currencies.
Well, then make them in America.
That makes it impossible. Well, you don't know anything about business. You lose on
make them in America.
You don't know anything about it because you're a lousy
Well, I don't know anything about bankrupting four companies. You bankrupted four companies.
You know what?
I don't know anything about.
You know what?
Starting a university. That was a fake university.
First of all,
a fake university.
That's called.
There are people that borrowed $36,000 to go to Trump University, and they're suing him now. $36,000 to go to a university.
By the way,
that's a fake school.
And by the way,
and you know what they got? They got to take a picture with a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump.
And by the way,
that's what they got for the $36,000.
I want to move on.
And they actually did a very good job. But I've won most of the lawsuit.
Senator, I want to bring in I want to bring in my colleague Maria Celeste.
Excuse me, Wolf, let me ask you, am I allowed to respond to this?
You're allowed. You've been responding.
Okay, well, no, I haven't. I really haven't.
He's talked through the whole thing.
Here's the guy that buys a house for $179,000. He sells it to a lobbyist who's probably here for $380,000, and then legislation is passed. You tell me about this guy. This is what we're going to have.
Here's the guy that inherited $200 million. If he hadn't inherited $200 million, you know where Donald Trump would be right now? Selling watches in Manhattan.
Wrong.
That's where
that is so wrong. We'll work on that. I took $1 million and I turned it into $10 billion. I borrowed $1 million.
Then release the tax return so we can see how much money he makes.
I borrowed $1 million. I turned it into $10 billion, more than $10 billion.
As soon as I step foot into the Oval Office.
I have to say, he lied this time. He lied. 100%. 100%.
You lied about the Polish workers.
Yeah.
You lied to the students at Trump University.
That's Senator years ago.
Oh, he lied 38 years ago. All right, I guess there's a statute of limitation on lies. Here's what you didn't hear in that answer, and this is important, guys. This is an important thing. What is your plan? I understand the lines around the state, whatever that means. This is not a game where you draw maps around.
And you don't know what it means.
What is your plan?
That's the problem.
What is your plan on health care? You don't have a plan.
The biggest problem he doesn't know.
I'll give you 1 minute of my time to tell me his plan.
The biggest problem he's got is he doesn't know. You know, I watched him melt down 2 weeks ago with Chris Christie. I got to tell you, the biggest problem he's got is he really doesn't know about the lines. The biggest thing we've got, and the reason we have no competition, is because we have lines around the state, and you have essentially
we already mentioned that as part of my plan. I know what that is. But what else is part of your plan? So your only thing is to get rid of the lines around the states. What else is part of your health care plan?
What the lines around the states mean.
That's your only plan.
And it was almost done. No. You know what that does?
I'll give
brings
him time to mind. He can tell us his plan.
Excuse me. That brings in competition. When you get rid of the lines, it brings in competition. So instead of having one insurance company taking care of New York or Texas, you'll have many. They'll compete, and it'll be a beautiful thing.
Right. And so that's the only part of the plan? Just the lines, the interstate competition?
No, the nice part about the plan, you'll have many different plans. You'll have competition. You'll have so many different plans.
But now he's repeating himself.
No, I'm not repeating. No. I don't repeat myself.
You don't repeat yourself.
Here's the guy who repeats himself.
You repeat yourself every day.
him, talking about repeating, I watched him repeat himself 5 times 4 weeks ago. And
I saw
want to
you
tell
repeat yourself 5
it
times
was a
5
meltdown.
seconds ago.
I watched him melt down on the stage like I've never seen anybody. I thought he came out of the swimming pool.
I said, well,
Let's talk
I see him
about your
repeat himself
plan.
every night. It says 5 things. Everyone's dumb.
Senator
He's going to
Rubio.
make America great
Senator
again. We're going to
Rubio.
win, win, win.
Senator
He's
Rubio,
winning in the
please.
polls.
It's all true.
And the
Please
lines
stop.
around the state. Every night. Same thing.
Senator Rubio.
I tell the truth. I tell
Senator
the
Rubio,
truth.
you will have time to respond if you
All
would
right.
just let Mr. Trump respond to what
Yeah,
you
he's
just
gonna give us
posed
his
to
plan
him.
now, right?
If
Okay.
you could talk a little bit more about your plan. I know you talked about
No,
the
we're going to
interstate.
have many different plans
you
because
give
there's
us
going to be
specifics?
competition.
Said it again.
There's going to be competition. There is going to be competition among all of the states and the insurance companies. They're going to have many, many different plans.
Is there anything else you would like to add to that? as part of
No,
your
there's
plan?
nothing to add. What's to add?
In all fairness, Marco is not a negotiator. I watched him melt down, and I'll tell you, it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen.
He's not going down.
He thinks the
Excuse me, wait
Palestinian is a
minute, wait
real
minute.
estate deal.
And these people may even be tougher than Chris Christie, okay?
The Palestinians
They may
are not
even
a
be
real
tougher.
estate deal, Donald.
Okay, no. A deal,
They're not a real estate
deal
deal.
is a deal. Let me tell you,
A
I've
deal
learned
is
a
not
long
a deal
time
when you're
ago.
dealing with terrorists. Have you,
You
ever
are not a
negotiated with terrorists?
negotiator. You are not a negotiator. And with your thinking, you will never
agree.
bring peace. You will never bring peace.
Donald might be able to build
I wanna be
condos in the
able-
Palestinian
Excuse
areas,
me.
but he's not going to. This is
Excuse
not a
me,
real
I
estate
wanna
deal.
be able to bring
Senator.
peace. He will never be able to do it. I think I may be able to do it, although I will say this, probably the toughest deal of any kind is that particular.
You've been funding liberal Democratic politicians, and by the way,
I funded
the,
you.
The
I
reason
funded him.
You're welcome
You
to
believe
have
it?
the check
I
back.
funded this guy.
Because let's
I
be
gave
clear.
him a check.
Yeah,
I
you
gave
gave me
him a check.
$5,000.
You never funded me.
And by the way, let's be clear. Donald claims to care
You know why? I didn't
about
want to, but he sent me his book with his autograph.
Donald, I understand rules
Mr.
are very
Trump,
hard
you're
for you.
doing
They're
a great
very
job.
confusing.
I have his book.
Okay,
Yeah, on your reality
Trump, you're
TV
doing a
show,
great
not
job.
in
Thank you,
Donald.
thank you for the book.
Or in
Donald, thank you for the book. Go ahead.
Donald.